The Mount Coast S1 is a shoe designed to be that daily trainer for folks looking to log crazy miles. In fact, it's specifically designed to be that go-to trainer for ultra marathons on the road. If there is one phrase to describe the S1, it's built like a tank. Hi everybody, welcome to today's video. My name is Matt and this is What Matters for Matt, and that's right, on today's video we are talking all about the Mount Coast S1. Now, to get a disclosure out of the way right off the bat, this was a shoe that Mount Coast sent me for the purpose of review. However, they're certainly not paying me to make this video, and they're not going to get a chance to see it before you fine folks here on YouTube. Now, I think before we get into this review, I think it's really important to talk about who this company is targeting. Who is the target market for Mount Coast? Well, Mount Coast is targeting those folks who are running those ultra marathoners on the road, but I do think if you're somebody looking for a solid daily trainer, there might be a spot for the Mount Coast S1 in your shoe rotation. A little bit of a spoiler alert there. But we're going to go down through the upper, the midsole, and the outsole, and ultimately I'm going to let you know whether I think the Mount Coast is worth your hard-earned cash. Also, if you look back there on the shelf, we've got the Mount Coast R1. Now, I've got to do a couple more runs in that shoe before we get the full review on that, but the R1 is the ultra marathon, road ultra marathon race day shoe. The S1 is Mount Coast version of a daily trainer to log all those daily trainer miles. And they've also just released the P1, which is a little bit more of a stability version of that shoe that hopefully I get in soon for testing. Now, they're also a brand that is new to the market and have clearly put a lot of focus on getting their name out there. Having a website that provides more information than pretty well any other shoe company that I've ever seen. Honestly, their website is pretty fantastic. So after watching this video, if you are interested in what Mount Coast has to offer, head on over to their website. I'll put a link in the description down below. It is not an affiliate link of any kind. I just think Mount Coast does a really good job of just providing information on all of the tech that goes into every single one of their shoes. So far to date, I have put a total of about 160 kilometers or 100 miles, and it has mostly been easy runs, throwing the occasional stride in a quick, short tempo session just to give myself an idea of how it felt to run at quicker paces. Most of those runs have been on a mixture of surfaces between road, crushed rock, light trail, and even spending quite a bit of time on the treadmill. So some of the quick specs before we dive into my thoughts on the shoe. Weight, we are looking at 9.35 ounces or 265 grams in a US men's size 9. I am a US men's size 13, and that tips the scale at roughly, I think it's around 320 grams, which puts it right in the ballpark of some other daily trainers I've put most of my miles in here so far this year. Now, stack height is 36 millimeters in that heel and 26 millimeters in the forefoot for a 10 millimeter drop. And we're looking at a price tag of $150 US. The upper in the S1 is made up of an engineered mesh that Mount Coast claims is 100% recycled yarn. Breathability is average, just about what you would expect out of a daily trainer. I found it wrapped around the midfoot pretty well with a good amount of room up here in the toe box. I have a fairly narrow foot, and I say this in a number of my videos, but if it fits me well, if you have a wider, more voluminous foot, you might want to pay attention before actually purchasing the shoe. There's a pretty significant toe cap up here too, which kind of feels like it would be more at home on a dedicated trail shoe, but it does add to the durability and does hold the upper off the toes, giving you lots of room to wiggle your toes and splay your toes. Now, if we look at the eyelet chain, again, it's pretty built up, which really gives you that feeling of quality build in a shoe. But if I was Mount Coast and I was looking to shave a little bit of weight, I know this year, for whatever reason, the trend is to put out daily trainers that are a little bit heavier all of a sudden. But if you are looking to shave a little bit of weight, that toe cap and that built up eyelet chain is probably a good place to start. Now, there's also lots of structure in the heel, good amount of padding in the heel collar and the tongue, but it's not so built up that it's going to become a sweat sponge on those hotter runs. They also made sure to include that extra hole up here for the runner's knot. Just a habit that I have. Lockdown was really good, really wasn't a concern. It's a safety net for me to actually do that runner's loop. So I put it in there, but I think if I was to lace this up and run it without that, it would be perfectly fine. So that does lead up to a pretty good upper that provides solid lockdown that doesn't really disappear on your foot, but definitely feels comfortable and supportive enough for just any type of run you want to do in this shoe. So the S1 midsole is made up of Mount Coast light cell foam, which they say is a PIBA hybrid nitrogen supercritical foaming process, which has 50% less weight and 45% more bounce than the traditional EVA. Now, I'm always a bit hesitant when companies start throwing out comparison numbers, just because when we use terms like traditional EVA, what shoe are we actually talking about? And running shoe companies have shown us over the last few years that they can do amazing things with different midsole materials, and not every shoe needs to be PIBA to be fun and bouncy. The good news for Mount Coast is that I really did enjoy this midsole. It does have familiar EVA midsole feel to it that gives you a traditional old school daily trainer vibe. So certainly not as soft and squishy as we see out of some other daily trainers on the market, but still provides you with a consistent ride that offers good protection relative to its stack height that may not be overly exciting, but a solid option for just logging lots and lots of miles. Some of the tech built into that midsole is their zero sag insert that is meant to provide consistent cushioning and stability on long runs, and if I'm being honest, most of my runs have been in the 6 mile or 10 kilometer range, so it's hard for me to speak to whether that appears to be the case on longer runs. You can also see there's this, if it focuses, this TPU heel cage that just gives you a little bit of extra structure. All that sounds like a modern day take on a stability issue, and again, if we think of the purpose of this, it's to log lots of miles training for a road ultra. That guidance support is very welcome, and it doesn't feel in any way at all in the way when you're running. Also, even though I have not tried it, I mentioned earlier in the video, Mount Coast has just released a stability version, the P1, which might be worth taking a look at if you are wanting even more support. All right, so we talked about the upper, we talked about the midsole. Let's move on to talking about that outsole. Now you can see that there is a good amount of rubber on the bottom of the shoe with some exposed midsole area, but with my testing so far, I've had no issue whatsoever with that exposed midsole getting chewed up. The outsole pattern includes what Mount Coast is calling their Go Flow, which is supposed to help you with that whole idea of keeping you moving forward. And the traction is nothing amazing, but just like a lot of the other parts of this shoe, it really just gets the job done. So durability, even though this is not a long-term review, I think I can speak to durability with the amount of miles that I have put in so far. And although it might not look as bright and shiny as it did on day one, there is little to no wear so far in the upper, the midsole, or the outsole. The upper looks good, the midsole feels like the first run, and the outsole barely shows any sign that I've run in it at all. So I make no guarantees, but my bet is that this shoe is going to last a very, very long time. So look, this shoe is a good option for someone looking for a daily trainer that does not need anything too exciting, just a classic daily trainer with enough protection to keep you logging a lot of miles. I will say that I love higher stack shoes that are super squishy and bouncy and fun, but running those every day, eventually my joints, my hips, my knees start bothering me. I think it has to do with just that high stack and a little bit extra strain put on all my joints just to keep myself more stable. And this shoe definitely fits in the stable neutral category for me, which really allows you to just get out there and run whatever kind of run, log whatever kind of miles you hope to run in a daily trainer. Now, I think the biggest competition for the Mount Coast S1 is actually its big brother back there on the shelf, the Mount Coast R1, as it's a little bit more fun, a little bit lighter, and the price tag is just $10 more US expensive. And after I get just a few more miles in the shoe, probably by next week, I'll be able to bring you a full review on the R1 as well. And if you're interested in seeing that review and you're not subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you get notified every time I put out a new video. Like this video and comment in the comment section down below. What is your daily trainer and what do you look for most in a daily trainer that you're just going to be pulling out of the shoebox to run day after day and log all those miles? Guys, my name is Matt, and this has been What Matters to Matt, and ultimately, what matters to me most is my family. I'll see you in the next video.
Step one, wake up early, go gon' rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.